Good morning, student. Welcome to the unit number 3, that is basic processing unit. So, as we have completed our first two units, so I think we have an enough basic knowledge about how instructions are executed and how instruction is done step by step. So, first of all, let's see some basic fundamental concepts. So, now we know that to execute a program, the processor fetches one instruction at a time and performs the operation that are specified in your instruction. That means when processor fetches one instruction at a time, first phase is fetching, another is decoding, and after that executing an instruction. Okay, so after fetching, when we are in the decoding phase, processor get to know that which type of operation that we have to perform on that particular operands. For example, if your instruction is add a comma b, that means you have to add the contents of a with the contents of b. Okay, and we also discussed about in the previous lecture addressing modes. So during decoding phase also, processor get to know that which type of addressing mode is that. Okay, so for example, processor get to know that whether it is immediate addressing mode, whether it is direct addressing mode or indirect addressing mode. So all this is done in the decoding phase. So to execute a program, first processor fetches one instruction. It will fetch instruction one by one, not all at once. So the processor fetch one instruction at a time and then perform the operation specified in the instruction. Okay, so these instructions are fetched from successive memory location until a branch or jump instruction is encountered. So as we also discussed in the first unit, now basically your instructions are executed one by one, that means in sequential manner, because your PC, that is program counter, is incremented. Okay, and then it will increment, it will point to the next instruction, immediate next instruction. Okay, and that's why your program or your instructions execute in a sequential manner. Okay, but it not always it's not same all the time, because whenever there is a branch or jump instruction, that time your program will not execute in a sequential manner. Okay, so when jump encountered, your PC will point to the instruction from where your loop starts. Okay, we have already discussed about it. And if you don't know this concept or you are not getting what I'm telling you, just go to that video and clear your concept about branch and jump instruction. Okay, so the instructions are fetched from successive memory location until a branch or jump instruction is encountered. So the processor keeps track of the address of the memory location. Now, how processor keeps the track of address of memory location? By using your program counter, because your program counter containing the next instruction which is to be fetched. Okay, so after fetching an instruction, the contents of the PC are updated to point to the next instruction in the sequence. For example, initially your PC is pointing to the instruction number 1. After fetching that instruction, your program counter will increment and it will point to the next instruction which is to be fetched. Okay, so by using program counter, your processor keeps track of the address of memory location, and once the instruction is fetched, it is loaded into the instruction register. Okay, so the PC points to the instruction. After that, processor will fetch that particular instruction from that particular memory address, and after fetching that instruction, it is loaded into the IR, because the instruction that is to be executed is always held by the instruction register IR. Okay, so IR is the another key register in the processor. Now, let's suppose that each instruction comprises 4 bytes and it is stored in one memory word. So to execute that instruction, processor has to perform 3 steps. First, processor has to fetch the contents of the memory location pointed by the PC, and now the contents of this location are loaded into the IR, that is instruction register, and this is your complete fetch phase. Okay, PC will point to the instruction. The instruction that is to be pointed by PC is loaded into the IR for execution purpose, that is the fetching phase. So the contents of this location are interpreted as an instruction that is to be executed. Okay, hence they are loaded into the IR. Now symbolically it is written as the contents of PC are loaded into the IR. Okay. Then assuming that now your memory is byte addressable, so increment the contents of the PC by 4. Now we have seen the two concepts of addressability, that is word addressable and byte addressable. Now what is word addressable? Your memory is divided into number of words, and in byte addressable your memory is divided into number of words, but again words are divided into byte. Okay, now here assume that the memory is byte addressable and increment the contents of the PC by 4. Now, when we increment the contents of PC by 4, when your memory is 16-bit, when your system is 16-bit addressable. 16-bit means 2 to the power 4. Okay, that means your word is divided into 4 bytes, and that's why your PC are incremented by 4. Now, if your system is 32-bit system, it means that we will increment your PC by 5. If your system is 64-bit, it means that time we will increment the contents of PC by 6. Okay, now if you don't get the concept, please go to the previous videos of addressability and clear your concept. Okay, so let's assume here your system is 16 bit of memory. Okay, and that's why your PC is incremented by 4. Then carry out the action specified by the instruction in the IR. Now your IR is holding the instruction to be executed. Now now your fetching phase is done. Now you are in the execution phase. Okay, now when your instruction is in the IR, that is instruction register, that time decoding, meanwhile decoding is done. Okay, and decoding means now processor is know that which type of operation it has to be performed on this particular instruction. For example, whether processor has to perform addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. That is your execution phase. So step 1 and step 2, that means step 1 and step 2. These two phases are considered as fetch phase, and step 3 is considered as an execution phase. Now look at the internal organization of processor. Okay. So this is the processor internal organization, in which arithmetic and logic unit, and all the register, these are the register, that is IR, R0, Rn -1, temp is again register, Z is also register, Y, MDR, MR, these all are the register. Okay, so in this processor internal organization, the arithmetic and logical unit and all the registers are interconnected via single common bus. Now you can see here, these all registers, arithmetic and logic unit are all interconnected by the single processor bus. Okay, so now this bus is internal to the processor. Okay, this bus is internal to the processor. Don't get confused with the external bus that connects your processor, memory, input, output devices. Okay, this is internal bus which is inside the processor. An external bus that I'm talking about it is used to connect the memory to the processor and to the input output device. Okay, now here I am talking about the internal processor bus. Now, the data and address lines of external memory bus, this is the address line and this is the data line. Okay, now this is internal bus. Now, but this address line and data line is external to the memory bus. Okay, so the data and address lines of external memory bus are connected to this internal processor bus via memory data register, that is MDR, and the memory address register, that is MAR. Okay, now this address bus and data bus is of the memory bus, and this external bus is connected to the processor by using these two registers, that is memory address register and memory data register. So register MDR has two input and two outputs. Now this MDR register, that is memory data register, has two input and two output lines. Okay, this is the bidirectional. It has two input lines and two output lines. So data may be loaded into the MDR either from the memory bus. So data may be loaded into the MDR either from this memory bus or from the internal processor bus. Okay, now how does it perform? For example, we have to perform addition of A and B. Now your both the operands A and B are stored somewhere in your memory. Okay, so first we have to fetch that A and B into the arithmetic and logic unit. Okay, that means here we are loading data from memory to the MDR by using this data line. Okay, and after performing this addition, for example, we have to store the result of this addition, that is A plus B equals to C, into the again memory. So after performing addition by using this processor, we are going to load that output to the MDR to get stored in the memory. Okay, so data stored in MDR may be done by two ways, either from the memory bus or from the internal processor bus. Okay, so the stored data in MDR may be placed on either bus also, on the memory bus and processor bus. Okay, then the input of MAR, that is memory address register, is connected to the internal bus. Now input of MAR is connected to this internal processor bus and its output is connected to the external memory bus. Okay, now this is the input and this is the output. Now the input of MAR is connected to the processor internal bus and output is connected to the memory bus. Then the control lines of the memory bus are connected to the instruction decoder and control logic block. Now here is instruction decoder and control logic block, which is again connected to the processor internal bus, and this block is used for generating control signals, and control signals are very much important for performing any action in our processor. So the control lines of memory bus are connected to the instruction decoder and control logic block. Now this unit is responsible for issuing and generating the signals that control the operation of all the units inside the processor and for interacting with memory bus also. Then the number and use of processor register, that is the R0 to Rn-1, these are the general purpose processor registers. Okay, so the use of these processor registers from R0 to Rn-1 is vary considerably from one processor to another processor. Okay, it is not same for the all processors. So these registers may be provided for general purpose used by the programmer, as these are the general purpose registers. These are used for the general purpose. So there are some dedicated special purpose registers also, like index register, stack register, and so on. Okay, and along with these general purpose registers, there are three more registers in this internal organization, that is Y register, Z register, and this one temporary register. Okay, so these three registers are new to us. So these registers are transparent to the programmer, that is the programmer need not to be concerned with them because they are never referenced explicitly by an instruction. These three registers are only used by the processor for temporary storage during execution of some instructions. Okay, so these registers are never used for storing the data permanently generated by one instruction or and later used by another instruction. They are only used for the temporary storage purpose, like buffer registers. Okay, so we can call it as buffer register also. Then we have one multiplexer in this internal organization. Here is the multiplexer. So the multiplexer marks select either the output of register Y, that means your multiplexer will take input as output of Y. Okay, now input of multiplexer is the output of Y. So multiplexer has two options, either take input from Y or take input from constant 4. Okay, so it will select either the output of register Y as a input or a constant value 4 to be provided as input A to the ALU. If this multiplexer selects this constant value 4 as an input, then this input is given to the arithmetic and logic unit. Okay, and if this multiplexer selects input from Y, then this input will be provided to the ALU. Okay, so multiplexer has two options, either take constant 4 or take output of Y as an input. Now why here we are taking constant 4? Because we are assuming the our processor, our system is a 16-bit. Okay, and if our processor is 16-bit, so in byte addressability, we have to increment our PC by 4. That's why here we are taking the constant 4. Okay, so here we will refer to the two possible values of the multiplexer, that is select 4, that means constant 4, and select Y, that is output of Y, for selecting the constant 4 and register Y respectively. Okay, then as instruction execution progresses, the data transferred from one register to another register, often passing through the ALU to perform some arithmetic or logic operations. So the instruction decoder and the control logic unit is responsible for the implementing actions specified by the instruction loaded in the IR register. When we load the instruction in the IR register, our fetching phase completes and we are start decoding that instruction. So during decoding phase, if processor get to know that we have to perform subtraction, so that subtraction is done by the arithmetic and logic unit with the help of this instruction and decoder control logic, because it will generate control signals for that particular subtraction operation. So the decoder generates the control signal needed to select the registers involved and direct transfer of data. So now how this happens? Uh, Now first the registers, the arithmetic and logic unit and the interconnecting bus are collectively referred to as the data path. So with few exceptions, an instruction can be executed by performing one or more of the following actions, like first is that transfer a word of data from one processor register to another or to the ALU. That means we can transfer a word of data from processor to one of the register, or we can directly transfer that data from processor to the arithmetic and logic unit. Then second, perform an arithmetic or logic operation and store the result in a processor register. Processor register means currently we have three temporary registers like Z, Y, and temporary, and after that we can store it into memory. Then third action is that fetch the contents of given memory location and load them into a processor register. Then fourth, store a word of data from a processor register into a given memory location. Okay, so this is how we are executing an instruction by using the processor internal organization. Okay, now let's revise it. Processor fetches one instruction at a time and perform the operation specified in the instruction. Okay, so now MBR has two input and two output lines, and MAR has one input and one output line. The input of MAR, that is memory address register, is connected to the processor internal bus, and MPR input is connected to the processor internal bus and output is connected to the memory bus. Now this memory bus is external, but this MAR and MDR register are connected to the both the buses, that is the memory bus and the processor internal bus. So this work as an intermediary between this memory and the processor. Then program counter is again connected to the internal bus, Then we have one arithmetic and logic unit. Arithmetic and logic unit has two inputs. One will get directly from the processor bus and one will get from the multiplexer. But this multiplexer has two options to select its input. First one, either multiplexer can take constant 4 or multiplexer also can take output of y as an input, and after performing the arithmetic and logic operation, the result will be stored in a temporary register Z, and after that we can load the contents of Z to processor bus, and from this processor bus we can load it into the processor register or into the memory. Okay, if we have to store it permanently. After that, we have instruction decoder and control logic. Instruction decoder and control logic is responsible for the action of all the devices, and instruction decoder and control logic generate control signals to perform a particular action. So now consider in detail how each of these operation is implemented using a simple processor model. That is, this is our simple processor model, processor internal organization. Now let's discuss how this execution is happening in detail. So first consider register transfer. So instruction execution involves a sequence of steps in which data are transferred from one register to another register. So for each register, there are two control signals. Now we know that in register transfer addressing mode, data is transferred from one register to another register. Okay. So to transfer data from one to another register, we have two control signals. Okay. That means these two control signals are used to place the contents of that register on the bus or to load the data on the bus into the register. Okay. So the input and output of register. Now let's consider we have one register, that is Ri. Now the input and output of register Ri, this is the input and this is the output. So the input and output of register Ri are connected to the processor internal bus via switches. Now these are the two switches. So the input and output of this register Ri is connected to the processor internal bus via these two switches controlled by the control signals, that is Ri in input signal and Ri out output signal. Okay, now these two switches are controlled by two control signals, R in and R out. So where when R in is set to 1, when this control signal R in is set to 1, the data on the bus are loaded into the RM. Whatever the data on this processor bus is loaded into this Ri register. When input signal is set to 1, we can load the data from processor bus to the register. Similarly, when Ri out is set to 1, when this output signal is set to 1, the contents of the register Ri are placed on the bus. That means now whatever the contents held by Ri register, we can load that onto the processor bus. Okay, now you are getting my point. This is one register. We have to perform data transfer from one register to another register. To perform this operation, we have one register which is connected to a processor internal bus. But this connection is done through two switches. These switches are controlled by two control signals, that is Ri in control signal and Ri out control signal. So whenever this Ri in control signal is set to 1, that means whatever the data is present on the internal processor bus, we can load it into the register. For example, the output of arithmetic and logic unit is placed on this internal processor bus. So we can load that output onto the processor register when it is set to 1. And when your register output control signal is set to 1, whatever the data held by this register, we can place that onto the again processor bus. So let's consider your arithmetic and logic unit will has one input from processor bus. Okay. So now for example, this A input has 4. Multiplexer select 4. This 4 is given to arithmetic and logic unit, and this register hold 5. Okay, now when this output signal is set to 1, we can load this 5 onto the processor bus. Okay, now on this processor bus, there is a value 5. This 5 is given to the arithmetic and logic unit B input. So 4 plus 5, 9. Now this 9 is stored to this temporary register Z. Now we will load that 9 again onto the processor bus. Now our processor bus is holding 9. And whenever this RIN is 1, we can store that 9 into the register RI. Okay, now you are getting a point how this arithmetic and logic operation perform. So similarly, when RI out is set to 1, the contents of register RI are placed on the bus, and while RI out is equal to 0, the bus can be used for transferring data from other registers. So suppose that we wish to transfer the contents of register R1 to register R4. Now let's consider we want to transfer the contents of register R1 to register R4. So we have one register R1 and another register R4. And now we have to transfer the contents of R1 to R4. So this can be accomplished as first we have to enable the output of register R1 by setting R1 out to 1. Now let's consider this is your R1 register. Now we have to transfer data of R1 to R4. Okay, that means first we have to transfer the data of R1 to the processor bus, and for that we have to set this R1 out to 1. Okay, now when this control signal is set to 1, this switch will on, and now we can transfer the data from R1 to this processor. Okay, so this places the contents of R1 on the processor bus. Now let's consider your R1 is containing 3. Now we have to transfer the data of this R1 to the another register R4. Now let's consider here is your R4 register. Okay, now to place the contents from processor bus to the R4, what we have to do? We have to set this R in control signal to 1. When this R in control signal is set to 1, this switch will on, and now we are able to transfer the data from processor bus to the register. So this loads the data from processor bus into register R4. Now your processor bus is holding 3. Now when this input signal is 1, we can transfer this 3 to the R4. Okay. Now your R4 is R4 will again becoming 3. Now look here. Here is only one register Ri, but let's we can consider that here are number of general purpose register, that is R1, R2, R3, R4. Okay, this Ri is only for an example. So how we can transfer data from R1 to R4? By using this two control signals, that is Rin and Ri out. Now again, performing an arithmetic or logic operation. So the arithmetic and logical unit is a combinational circuit that has no internal storage. It performs arithmetic and logical operation on the two operands applied to its A and B input. That means, look at this diagram, arithmetic and logic unit perform operations based on the two operands applied to it, that is A and B. These two are the inputs to the arithmetic and logic unit. So one of the operand is the output of multiplexer. Now one of the operand, one of the input is the output of multiplexer, and other operand is obtained directly from the processor bus. Okay, and the result produced by the arithmetic and logic unit is stored temporarily in register Z. Now whatever the result is stored in temporary register Z, and therefore the sequence of operation to add the contents of register R1 to for example those of register R2 and store the result in register R3 is. Now let's consider another example. We have two resistors R1 R2 and store the result in the R3. Okay. So R1 out, temporary resistor Y in, then R2 out, select Y, add Z in, and Z out, R3 in. It means that in step 1, the output of resistor R1 and input of resistor Y are enabled. Now let's consider again, this is R1. Now the output of this R1 is set to 1. That means now we are placing the contents of R1 to the processor register. Let's consider this R1 is holding 4. So now here we are placing the contents 4 to the processor bus, and here your Y in is enabled. That means here we have Y in register. Now, when this Y in temporary register is set to 1, now here we don't want to store our result in register. We want to perform directly addition and then want to store our data, our output in another register, that is R3. That's why here we are not enabling this register. We are enabling temporary register Y in. Now, this 4 is loaded into the Y in when this Y in control signal is set to 1. Now your Y temporary register holding value 4. Okay. Now, this causing the contents of R1 to be transferred over the bus to Y. Now in step 2, what is the step 2? R2 out, select Y and add Z. Now in step 2, the multiplexer select signal is set select Y. Now here our temporary register Y holding value. So multiplexer has two options, either to take input from constant 4 or to take input from Y. Now as our Y is holding value 4, multiplexer will select Y, that is 4, and this 4 is given to the ALU as input A. And then the contents of register R2 are get onto the bus. Now R out, that means somewhere our register R2 holding value 5. So when this R2 holding value 5, this R2 out is set to 1. That means the value of R2 out is again placed on the processor bus, that is 5. Okay, and now the ALU directly take that 5 from the processor bus. That means now here your ALU is contain value 4. Okay, now after that we have to perform operation add. Now arithmetic and logic operation will perform addition and the result will be 9. And now this result is stored in Z out temporary register. Okay, now your result Z is stored in temporary register 9, temporary register Z. Now we have to transfer this result to register R3. Now this Z is temporary register, but we have to store our result as a permanent basis. So we have to transfer this output to the register R3. So for that, what we have to do? Again, we have to set the Z out signal to 1. And when this Z out signal is set to 1, your 9 will be loaded onto the processor bus. And somewhere your register R3 is there. And now we have to set the input signal of R3 to 1. And when the input signal of R3 is set to 1, this 9 will loaded into the R3. And now this is how the addition and transferring data from one register to another register is done in the processor internally.